Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
Stories by Alana Robertson Webb. Andrea. My fiancé Hunter once shared this chilling memory with me, and to this day it serves to remind me that people shouldn't judge others based on their appearance. Here is his story, which happened to him when he was 15. Throughout my life, I've spent many days and nights in the hospital, most of them while curled up in a chair next to my dad during his multiple extended stays. His latest visit was the worst one of the lot, and it was caused by him knocking his head against the bathroom sink and going into a series of seizures. The day the accident happened, I was walking my dog Ozzy, and he started tugging frantically against the leash in a way I'd never seen. As an empath and spiritual person, I believe that animals can sense things that humans aren't perceptive to, so I let him lead me back towards the house without argument. The house was overly quiet, and when I called to my dad, the sound seemed to echo eerily. As I made my way down the hall near my dad's room, a massive amount of pain-filled energy enveloped me, and it was emanating from the bathroom. In the tiny room was a horrific sight. My father lay on the bathroom floor, his eyes rolled back in his skull, and his skin an unnatural shade of blue. He was laying in his own blood, and at the sight, my medical training immediately kicked in. After checking his pulse and rolling him onto his side, like I'd been taught by his doctors, I supported his head with towels, and I used a compression technique on the gash on his skull as I called 911. During the ambulance ride, he went into an additional 13 seizures, and it took the doctors putting him into a medically induced coma for them to stop. A few nights after the accident, I was sleeping next to his bed in the ICU when I woke up from a cold breeze. I looked over to my dad, who was sitting upright in his bed with his eyes rolled back. He was attached to tubes and IVs, and I could tell he still hadn't woken up from the coma. Without even taking a breath, he whispered to me in a cold, hard voice, "I don't want you to see me like this." His back slumped onto the pillow, and I sat there in shock. At this point, I was already on edge. How had he been able to speak? I needed to clear my mind and maybe talk to his neurologist, if I could find him there that late. So I went for a walk around the dimly lit hospital. Every shadow seemed to turn towards me in a near-silent building. There were no doctors running around tonight, and there seemed to be a lack of other staff. Due to the immense size of the hospital, I ended up getting lost down a long hallway, so I decided to try to head back the way I came. When I was about halfway down one of the many corridors, I saw a lady in a hospital gown. Something was very odd about her, though, and she appeared almost transparent. At first, I thought it was due to my lack of sleep, but upon reaching her, she disappeared. There was no rooms or other hallways nearby that she could have gone down. I shook it off as an exhaustion-induced illusion, and I kept making my way back to my dad's room. About 5 minutes later, I saw the same woman down another hallway, so I decided that she must be real, and I started to follow her to make sure she was okay. She looked even more pale this time, and I was worried that she might be in need of immediate medical attention. 3 more hallways passed by, And then I saw her walk into a room in a part of the hospital I'd never been in before. I opened the door slowly, and the figure was standing in the middle of the room with her back to me. As she turned to face me, I almost screamed. Where she should have had eyes were just void holes, and not even pieces of her eyes remained. Her mouth was sewn shut, and her expression was inhumanly blank. I ran from the room in terror, not stopping my frantic dash until I recognized where I was. I had finally found my dad's room, and I'd never felt more relieved. After the encounter, I headed back to my chair to try and get some sleep. I kept telling myself that the whole thing was due to extreme stress I had been under, coupled with the lack of sleep from the last few days. I finally managed to drift off, only to wake from night terrors a few hours later. I got up to use the bathroom and take a shower, and when I went to brush my teeth, there were 5 words written in the steam that had coated the mirror. "Why did you leave me?" As I turned around, I saw a piece of white hospital gown in my peripheral vision, and I thought for a moment my dad had gotten out of bed. Excitedly, I went to hug him when I realized that it was the same terrifying spirit. She stood over my dad with as much of a smile as she could muster through stitched lips, and she touched his forehead as she whispered something to him. I was so scared that I blacked out, and I woke up back in my usual chair. I couldn't feel any bad energy, and my dad's complexion actually looked a little bit less pale than what it had been. 2 days later, my dad came out of the coma. At first, he didn't understand where he was, who he was, or who anyone else was. The doctors were amazed that he was awake at all, since they had predicted that he may well die while still in the coma. The next few days were rough as my dad's memories slowly returned, and I forgot all about the apparition. A few days later, I was home alone. I needed a short break from helping my dad regenerate his memories, and I knew he'd be fine for a few hours under the care of several kind staff members at the nursing home nearby. I was getting clean clothes from my room when I saw a note on my pillow. I blinked at it in confusion a few times, then read it thoroughly before dropping it in shock. I hadn't recognized the handwriting, but the paper had the hospital's name printed at the top. "Even though you didn't help me, you're welcome. Andrea." Chills went up my spine after I read it, and the note haunts me to this day. "Andrea, I want to thank you so much what you did for my dad. I'm not sure exactly what you did or how you did it, but I know you helped him find his way back to me. I'm so sorry I was a coward and ran from you, and I hope you found peace." To this day, Hunter, 9 years after his ghostly encounter, still has night terrors about meeting such a horrific being. Sometimes he wakes up in the night screaming, though he never seems to remember doing this, and I can't help but wonder if Andrea is punishing him from beyond the grave. Auntie Swamp Witch. My great-aunt Jemima was an old swamp witch who lived in the deep wetlands outside of New Orleans, and I just came across some letters she wrote to her lover going on 2 decades ago. I'd always heard the rumors surrounding her, but I never got to meet the woman herself. The reason these letters mean so much to me, and why I wish I could have met her, is that I'm cursed too. Just like her, I can see into the future by using tarot cards. and I can see the stories they tell about people if I focus hard. This is one of her letters, and I keep reading it over and over, hoping I can get some idea about how to break the curse from it. No, Jimmy, I can't go through this again. I can't look into their lives like this anymore with those devil-damned cards. I don't care about the paycheck. No good ever comes out of my reading like it did Mama's. The last time I did a reading, you all know what happened to old Mrs. Fitzgerald. I got enough blood on my hands. Do you have any idea what it's like when your heart starts pounding and a scream tries to rip free of your throat because you killed someone? No, I don't suppose you do. Every time I do a reading, my clients run away screaming or drop dead of heart attacks like flies. You know, it's kind of funny because I see when and how people are going to die all the time in their cards. And you know I'm always right. But I never saw hers coming at all. No hint, nothing. If I had seen it, I could have stopped it, or at least damn well tried to. I could have brought her to the emergency room and plopped her down on one of those crisp white beds and told 'em to take care of her. But I didn't. I sat there talking like a moron while her ticker ran out. When I told her that her current husband was going to try and kill her for her life insurance, she didn't blink. When I told her that her daughter's pregnant by some boy, she flipped out. I have to be careful what I tell my mama, though. She won't like hearing that I accidentally killed Mrs. Fitzgerald. They were neighbors for 30 years, you know, and Mrs. Fitzgerald used to always give me some of her buttery sugar cookies whenever I'd do a reading for her. Oh, Lordy, I feel like this paycheck is burning a hole right through my breast pocket, into my soul. But Mama needs her medication, or she'll have another seizure. And the doctor said that if she convulses and her neck twists like it did before, then it could kill her. But I can't do this again. I can't let another person die in my sight and not know it's coming like that. That's my job. I'm supposed to tell people their future so they can be aware enough to alter them. I'm supposed to help people, not kill them like they were rabid possums. But you know, this is really the second time it has happened. I killed my daddy when I was little. I told my mama if he went out to work for Mr. Jenkins at the plantation, he would be shot. But my daddy just laughed and said to stop spreading the devil's lies. He went off to work that morning, a mean old leer on his face, and said that when he came home that night he was going to spank until I was red like a tomato, just to show me how wrong I was. He never came home. If I could have convinced him, he would have still been alive. Now I've gone and killed someone else because my power failed me. I can't take this anymore. I'm ending it now. Then I can't hurt anyone else ever. The good Lord will take care of Mama. I know he will. And now I can't go and hurt her either. In any way. Yours till death, Jemima. There's blood obscuring the end of the note, and it's splattered across the page, leaving gaps in the writing. I found more pages, but I'm afraid to share them. It kind of feels like I'm stuck in a prophecy, doomed to repeat the mistake she made. What should I do? Read more? My power's just as bad as hers was, but at least she got to do a little schooling and learn more things than me. My mama's been hiding me away from everyone, and I had the old woman down the road teach me how to do basic reading and writing so that I wouldn't be too big of a burden. Auntie Jemima could do other things too, not just see the future in the cards. The things she could do still frightens me, and I almost don't want to talk about them. Me bringing her up now is bad enough, Juju. I don't want to make the spirits any more ornery than they usually are around this old house. I found the letters hidden beneath the rotting attic floorboard yesterday. They were tied up in an old, mothball-smelling box, marked irrefutable proof of devil worship. I don't know what that big word is that starts with an I, but I know that I don't want my mama to hurt me the way my great-aunt's pa hurt her. What should I do? I turn 16 in a few days, and Mama says that's when the devil will come for me. So quoth this raven. My thanks to Elena Robertson-Webb for sending me these stories. I will have another video out from her next week, most likely. Maybe this week. We'll see how it goes. Thank you all for stopping by. It means so much. Yeah, I'm slipping into that last accent again. It means so much when you come visit me. And special thanks to my Patreon supporters, Ermin Case, Darren and Jennifer Daw, and Callisti Nick. If you like this, please hit the little button to let me know. If you didn't, hit the little button to let me know. Leave a comment. I'm always glad to talk with you, my darlings. I'm open to suggestions and criticisms, critiques. If you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bell so you know when to come up and see me. And I will talk to you next time, my darlings. Farewell.